Good afternoon. This is Frank Folco, and welcome to Huddle Time. Today, we're going to be speaking with Mr. Alok Appadurai. He's an entrepreneur and an activist and someone with a fantastic story and message for all of us, and we're really excited about that. Before we get started, though, just some quick housekeeping. One, sending good wishes and love to our host here, Ronit Enos. Ronit is not with us today, but she'll be back, and we just want her to know that we're thinking of her, and we always appreciate her. And the second thing is just a date we want to make sure that everybody puts on their calendar is November 16th. November 16th, we're going to be hosting America's Beauty Brunch, and it's for women in beauty. And we are so excited about this event. That's November 16th, 10 a.m. Central Standard Time. It'll be online. And again, it's America's Beauty Brunch, and it's for women in beauty. You're not going to want to miss it. And I'm just encouraging everyone to contact your friends and get together for it, because it's going to be a fun and great experience. Okay, let's get started with Huddle Time today. Alok, welcome to Huddle Time.
Frank, it's such an honor to be here. Thanks so much for having me on the show.
Oh, we're so happy for you to be on. And, I've had the good fortune of being able to do a little bit of research about you. And you have such an interesting background. It's diverse, but I would say that it's, I want to call it a spiritual journey. That's the way I would capture it. I mean, it's just a really interesting journey that I think is just relevant to all of our viewers. If you wouldn't mind, just take a couple of minutes and let's get to know you and your journey. Talk to us a little bit about your business background and what you're doing right now.
Thanks so much. So I've dedicated my entire business journey to using business as a vehicle to make other people's lives better. And the 4 companies I've run, first one was in clean energy that converted garbage into electricity and fuel. Second was a global media platform for women to reshape body image and mass media for women around the world. Third one was a sustainable clothing company that fed 500,000 meals to people in need. And now I run a coaching and consulting business that helps primarily coaches and consultants and service providers be able to scale so that they can start touching more lives. Great.
So it sounds like social responsibility is a big part of who you are and what you're all about.
Yeah, I feel that service is part of our core human nature, that we desire to be in connection with other people, and that we feel good when we make other people's lives better. And that was something that I was sort of born feeling. And I also loved entrepreneurship. And so I figured, hey, can we put those together where, we're able to earn a great living and we're able to make other people feel amazing and see their own greatness.
That's definitely what we try to do in the professional beauty industry.
Absolutely.
Every day. And our viewers here are dedicated their lives to it. I mean, it's one of the beautiful things about our industry is this whole dedication to service and serving others. You told me an interesting story when you were a young child. You said that you had a chance to have a conversation with a special person that kind of talked to you about the journey itself. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, at age 19, I was driving, my father's from India. I was driving in North India in the backseat of a car. It was kind of a hair-raising drive. And a lot of people talk about your life flashing in front of your eyes in those moments. And in my case, essentially my 80-year-old self, which may sound hard to believe, it was an ethereal experience. My 80-year-old self sat next to me and looked at me. And I have chills right now just remembering this moment. And he looked at me and he said, Alok, what did you do with your life? Who'd you spend your time with? And did it matter? And that changed the course of the rest of my life. I went back to university, I rebuilt my major, and everything that I've done since then has been birthed out of that truly, truly life-changing experience.
And how so? Like, how has it changed? Like, you had this experience, so how did it change?
I would say the core thing that changed was, like, yes, I want to earn a very lucrative lifestyle. I like money. There's no shame. I want to remove money shame out of conversations that people are having. And I woke up to a reality of, what would I regret at the end of my life? And so I actually live, this may sound wild, Frank, but I live from the end of my life backwards, Frank. So I literally ask, what would I regret not having done or not having been, right? Because the state of being, how you show up in the world, is such a powerful decision about how you live your life. And I realized in that moment at age 19, even though I didn't know how it would play out, I realized that if I only chased money my whole life, I would get to the end of my life and have regrets. And I don't know about you, but regrets are just such a powerful driver for me, where I don't want to get to the end of my life and realize I wish I would have done things differently. So I live today to make my 80-year-old self proud about how I choose to live.
Well, I got to tell you, that's brilliant. It's a brilliant framework. And, you know, the whole journey, it really is a ride. And, you know, the people have said, and I've heard you say it, that, you know, are you enjoying the ride? That's the question you have to ask yourself. And, you know, so I'd ask you that, are you enjoying the ride? And the times that you aren't enjoying it, what do you do about it?
I am enjoying the ride more than ever in my life, Frank.
Even in COVID,
I will tell. I mean, and I know I want to be very respectful. I know a lot of people, a lot of business owners are going through a very, very, very difficult time right now, particularly in your industry. So I want my heart goes out to all of you that are coming through this time period. In my particular businesses, the changes that I made 4 years ago have actually allowed me to thrive during this time period, which is a wild thing to say. And I give unbelievable gratitude out to the universe. So oddly enough, my COVID happened in 2016. That's when, 2016 was one of the most difficult years of my life. Elements of my personal life got very, very difficult. I have a son, and, for a lot of us, family realities change. Let's put it that way. So that went on, as well as business got very, very difficult, and I own full responsibility. There's no victim mentality over here. And I woke up to, what do I need to do differently so that I can weatherproof myself, my business, and my family, so that no matter what happens economically, we're able to weather the storm. And so I only realize now that what happened in 2016 was an absolute blessing, right? And so one of the things I always love to share with all of my clients is that everything is working for you. Everything, even the moments that seem incredibly hard, even right now, COVID, which I do not say this lightly, and in the moment we may not be able to see it, but in some weeks, months, years down the road, we all realize that everything is lining up in our favor, even if we can't see it in the moment.
Great. So I'm all for that, because I can tell you right now, I feel challenged just like most of the people in the world.
Yeah.
But I also think it's a great opportunity for all of us to redefine, reanimate,
Yes.
and redesign things in our life, because we can. Because of COVID, it has changed so many things in our life. So it gives us an opportunity to redefine. So in 2016, you had this challenging moment, and it was a very difficult time. So what are like a few things that you learned from 2016 and your own personal experience that are applicable to folks today going through COVID? Like what would be like a few key lessons learned?
Chin up, resilience. Don't lose your belief in yourself. I know that sounds like such an unbelievable cliche, but that's all I could hold on to. I held on to my dreams. I held on to my vision, and then I adapted, right? And I will tell you very honestly, like, had to swallow my pride in moments, right? Had to do what it took to get through a very complicated time and retool and reposition myself at night after I put my son to sleep. Like, when people tell me, you don't know what it takes, I'm like, no. As a part-time single dad, at that time living in a one-room studio with a beautiful view, but one room nonetheless. I absolutely know what it takes. When they see everything happening for me and my girlfriend and I being able to travel last year all over the world, and then everyone says, oh, you're so lucky. I said, it's not luck. This is hard work. This is commitment and belief in yourself. Have a relentless belief in your ability to use your creative imagination to find a solution to whatever is going on. And it may mean adapting. Like, ask yourself, like, how do I need to adapt to change? Because so many people have just been, in situations where they've been riding the norm and assuming that everything will just stay the same. But all we know for sure in life is the only constant is change, right? And so I just say to people, like, believe in yourself. Don't give up. Do not quit. Do not wave your white flag. You may have to change, but don't quit on yourself.
So what do you do that allows you to keep your focus, stay resilient on your dreams and on your goals? Like, is there a technique or something that you do that maybe, all of us could take and try to incorporate into our daily lives so that we don't lose track of our dreams or our focus?
So I take my clients through a 5-step methodology called my TREE process. I know that sounds maybe a little funny to some people, but it's TREEE. And I won't take your time it takes me about 15, 20 minutes to take people through it. But what I'll say is, in the short answer is the response. So we cannot control the triggers that are happening in our lives, but we absolutely can control how we respond to those triggers. And I just want to let your viewers know that if your responses are negative, right, and you move into fears and limiting beliefs and scarcity and lack, everything will fall apart. I'm just going to be completely honest. If your responses are based in empowered thinking, creative thinking, solution-driven thinking, your outcomes will be unlimited success. So I use that methodology to keep my mind. It doesn't mean I don't fall. Look, we all have moments where our brain starts taking over, right? But my goal for myself and for all my clients is that we shrink the length of time that you're frozen, stuck in paralysis, unable, right, to really take bold action to move your situation forward. So focus on your responses. My short answer to all of your audience is begin to notice where you are responding in a way that's keeping you trapped in negative thinking, which only creates negative emotions in your body, negative effort levels like paralysis or being stuck, which creates negative effect into your business.
Right. Okay, so TREE, triggers is T.
Yep.
R is response.
That's right.
And what are the other two E's? I'm so curious.
There's actually three.
Framework.
There's three
Okay.
E's. So
right.
Yeah, this is a total gem. I love it. So right, trigger, response, emotions, effort, effect. Okay. So you want to look at, hey, we can't control the triggers, but you absolutely can control the responses you have to the triggers. And if you allow yourself to go into negative thinking, right? So for example, like let's say you say, hey, I want to double my business next year, just as an idea. That's a trigger. It's a circumstance. Your thinking, your responses might go, well, I don't know how to do that. I've never done that in my life. Who am I to think I'm capable of doing that? Will that turn me into some greedy person? Will everything fall apart? What if I get too big? I mean, the list of negative thinking that is, for most of our society, it is like automatically hardwired to go into what will go wrong.
Sure.
Okay. Right. And then from there, you'll probably notice the emotions in your body start moving into fear, anxiety, worry. Maybe they start looking at other salon owners and there's envy and jealousy and frustration and anger. And I have more experience than them. And why is it not happening? And then now you're judging and critiquing. I mean, all these emotions in your body are toxic. They're absolutely toxic emotions that only hurt yourself. Right. Sure. And then if you look at what's the level of effort that you take when those emotions are swirling in your body, it's probably, from about 95% of my clients, it's stuck, paralyzed, unable to really take bold action, would rather just go binge Netflix, avoid the problem. Right. And then if you look at the effect, which is the final E, effect is, what effect does that have on your business? Nothing good.
Right.
Right. it's probably going to deteriorate, because what we know is that businesses either grow or die. Okay. There's no static.
Nothing in between. There's
There's
nothing in between.
nothing in between. You are either in growth mode, or you're actually, you don't know this, but you're on decline.
Right.
Right. You're either evolving or you are shrinking.
Right.
You're either in expansion or contraction. There's no middle ground. So when you move into positive responses to your circumstances, it creates positive emotions in your body, which creates positive levels of effort, which create the positive effects into your profit or your bottom line.
I have to tell you, Alok, I think that is such a great framework. So how did you come about this framework? And, do you use it in your business or your businesses in the past?
I use it every single day. And Frank, the beautiful part about the tree process, to answer your question, is it emerged out of a lot of studying about the power of the mind. And when I started tracking what creates the results, and I started working backwards, I was like, oh, there's this beautiful framework. And now what I do with my clients is I then teach them how to move out of what I call a rotted tree, that's that negative side, into a blossoming tree. So I use it every single day, but not just in my business. The tree process shapes your personal life. Like if my girlfriend and I have a miscommunication, it doesn't go well, right? I stop, I pause, I think about how I've responded to her, and I rewind and I go, okay, she said blank, and then I responded a certain way. And you know what? Look what happened. And so I literally say to myself, okay, Alok, I close my eyes, right, as I was just doing. And I literally just say, how could I respond differently? And then literally that changes my emotional body. It allows us to move forward. So it's not actually just a business framework. It is an everything framework.
Sure. So let's go this way. This tree framework that you're utilizing, and you said it's happened over time through research. And I have to tell you, I'm a firm believer that experience is a valuable teacher. Unfortunately, it's very expensive. So
That's right.
because along the way with experience, you learn a lot of great lessons, but you also make a lot of mistakes.
Woo.
And mistakes can be great, and they can also damage you and hurt you. So talk to me a little bit about this concept of mistakes. And really, I just want to frame it like this. As an entrepreneur, sometimes you feel isolated with these mistakes. So talk me through that and kind of how you worked with the concept of mistakes and doing that as an entrepreneur.
The most expensive mistake I ever made was I thought I had to figure everything out on my own. And I'd been raised sort of with this idea that entrepreneurs are problem solvers, we're resourceful, we should be able to watch YouTube videos and read books and crack the code by ourselves, because we look around and we see everybody else doing it. Then we start thinking, well, what's wrong with me? And so for me, there were two factors that held me back from raising my hand and going, I need some help in my business, right? And those were ego, right? I thought I was supposed to be able to figure it out on my own. And then there was embarrassment, where I knew privately inside myself I wasn't always figuring it out on my own. And so then you're embarrassed, and then you overcompensate and you pretend like you've got everything going on, even though you might be looking at your business and cash flow is just getting beyond tight, or maybe you're burning into savings, but you're trying to make it look like you know what you're doing. And I will tell you this, when I began to raise my hand and say, I need some help, I need somebody to look at, and I used to say lines like, oh, well, I can't afford it. You can't afford not to have somebody. I mean, why do you think Steve Jobs had a coach? Why do you think Eric Schmidt of Google had a coach? Why do you think Michael Jordan had a coach? And I don't mean just Phil Jackson. I mean a mental performance coach, right?
Sure.
Why? Like highly successful people surround themselves with people who are looking at what they're doing so they can find the profit leaks that you can't see for yourself, because it's called being too close to the mirror in your industry.
Right.
You're too close to the mirror, and you can't see what you can't see. So for me, I've made plenty of mistakes, and I would say the most expensive one was trying to figure things out on my own.
So how did you get through it? Because I mean, I got my hand raised. I mean, I could tell you there's been plenty of times in my career, where maybe, you know, my ego or embarrassment got in the way and didn't ask for help. Uh, how did you get through that? I mean, how did you work through that emotions and say, you know what, this is what I'm doing right now, and I can recognize it, and I need to ask for help.
Two things. One, I got fed up enough, Frank. I got fed up enough knowing that I was underperforming what I was capable of.
Sure.
Right? I just could not take it anymore. Many people are willing to settle for mediocre, not me. And I had to finally just look in the mirror and go, you're not cutting it. I mean, I'm just being real with your audience. Like,
Right.
I just was like, Alok, you are not figuring it out on your own. And it is about time that you ask for help. So a lot of people need to hit that breaking point where you just finally admit that figuring it out on your own is not working. And I made a critical decision I started studying successful people, right? I realized, why am I inventing the wheel? And one of the things I learned about successful people is they value time over money. This is one of the hugest breakthroughs that I want to pass along to your audience.
Sure.
Value time over money. See, what most people do is they value the money in their pocket. So they say, well, I'm just going to figure it out on my own, even if it takes me like 5 years. Highly successful people go, I want to accelerate my path to success as fast as possible because they know how it changes their long-term earning trajectory in business,
Right.
particularly. So that's one side, is that I got fed up enough with my situation. The second side, and this is really important, is I forgave myself for my past mistakes.
See, I got to tell you, this whole discussion is worth that line right there. You need to repeat that again, because all of us need to write that down, myself included. Okay,
it's what one of my mentors calls a writer downer, right? You need to forgive yourself for your past mistakes, because here's what's happening. You've made the mistake. Okay. So you've paid, there's, which comes with all sorts of repercussions. That's part A. But part B is all the years that you continue to beat yourself up about the mistake, which continues to have repercussions, continues to keep you shell-shocked and unable to actually make really powerful decisions, because your trust in yourself starts going down, because you're like, well, but I've made bad decisions in the past. And so now you start second-guessing yourself, which just literally, like, the cumulative effects of not forgiving yourself for past mistakes are so much bigger than the original mistake you made.
I think you nailed it right there, because even back to your tree framework, where emotion is one of the E's, if you're carrying that baggage around and you haven't forgave yourself, that emotion is just so sensitive, and your thought process and how you live your life and trying to have a healthy framework in your mind, mental framework, it really becomes a challenge. It complicates things.
Well, what happens from there, Frank, is that it then starts repelling everything you actually desire. Okay. Because once you move into those energies, right, you're either skeptical about yourself or you're skeptical about other people because maybe certain solutions you invested in didn't work. And now you're second guessing yourself. And that skepticism and that lens that you're now seeing the world through actually starts repelling your premium buyers. They want to go somewhere else. Like, there's so many opportunities stop coming your way. Whether it's sponsorships or whatever that might be in your particular industry, like, you start actually energetically repelling everything you desire by having that lack of forgiveness and that emotional core. So many people talk about mindset, right? Which I'm all for. I think mindset's super powerful. But sure, I actually coach around the emotions in the body, because they are your drivers. And that's the next frontier that not enough people are talking about.
So talk me through this forgiveness piece, and we'll go to emotion next. But forgiveness is such a critical step, and you can't manage your emotions unless you forgive yourself. So what do you do to help you forgive yourself? Like, what's a technique that our viewers can apply in their life with something that maybe they're carrying around that they haven't forgiven themselves about?
So step one, this actually got birthed for me out of forgiving family members, right?
Okay.
Right. It actually came from an external first, where I had mentors who walked me through, hey, the baggage and the anger and the sadness that you're feeling about various things that have happened in your life, which doesn't mean they didn't occur, but the anger and the sadness is continuing to hold you back from living the life that you desire to live now. And
Sure.
so when I began to release and move into forgiveness of family members, I then took it one step further and I thought, well, what if I apply that same approach? Because it was so freeing. Like I just felt so much weight release. And then I was like, well, what about myself? Like, where am I continuing to be hard on myself for
Right.
decisions that maybe didn't work out well? So literally step one, I would say, is make a list. Literally make a physical written list of all the mistakes that you continue to drag along and like flog yourself about, right? Maybe nobody else knows. Maybe this is just something internal, but just make that list. And then one by one, literally, I know this may sound a little out there or a little woo woo, but just literally say your name. So I would say, Alok, I forgive you for that decision. It didn't work out, and that's okay. You're here now. And then go one step further. This is so game changing. Ask yourself, what am I grateful about what happened, even in the decision that you perceive to be wrong? This is this is so unbelievably powerful because you'll start actually seeing the gratitude in what you perceive to be the mistake.
Sure. Sure. Because there's a lesson to be learned in
Oh,
every
there's
decision.
gold.
There's a lesson to be learned in every decision. Okay. So the first thing is you write it down. I mean,
That's right.
the whole exercise of writing, I think cannot be underestimated. I mean,
Mm,
here we are doing this interview and I'm writing something down here because there's obviously some great insight that you're sharing with all of us. But the process of writing, I can't recall the actual figure, but I think it's um, when you physically write your goals down, you're 87% more likely to
yes,
achieve them because you took the time to write them down, not
that's
think
right.
them, not think
That's
them,
right.
but write them down. And
Yeah.
so, like, I mean, I'd encourage all of us, myself included. Like, I keep journals everywhere, and I'm constantly every day trying to journal so that I just go through the process, the discipline of writing things down. And it's just amazing how it comes back to that fundamental exercise of writing it down. Like I said, the mistakes, write them down, get them, like put them down and think about them. Okay.
And
So
forgive
go
yourself.
ahead and forgive
And
yourself. So
forgive yourself. Yeah.
you write it down, you identify your mistakes, you forgive yourself. And, there's a quote that you said, after that when I heard you on a TED talk because that was excellent. I really
Thank
like
you.
that TED talk that you did. For those of you that haven't seen the TED talk, if you go to TED.com and look up Alok, you will see his TED talk. It's about 15 minutes. It's excellent. But in there, you talked about having to go further, like in
Yeah.
general, like we have to go further. There has to be something better or more, like we have to be thinking bigger. Talk to us a little bit about that because we've talked through like, okay, overcoming our emotions, forgiving ourselves, continuing to move forward. But as we're moving forward, I'd like to bring in this concept of having to go further. What's your thoughts on that?
Sure. I truly believe in the greatness inside every one of us. Like, there's nobody who does not have a zone of genius. And when you begin to ask yourself, where's my zone of genius? And then from there, you begin to give yourself permission, dream bigger, dream more. And, for me, when I think about universal intelligence or God or whatever language your audience may or may not use, but we are built for more. We are built to experience more love, more joy, more laughter, more money, more clean air, more clean water, more sex, more fun, right? Like, Like, we are actually built to experience more. And for me, part of that is more impact. I said, I'm built to create more impact, more positive impact into the world than the average person. I don't covet the white picket fence and the 2 cars, right? I covet going, when I die, what will it say on my gravestone? He played full out to make other people's lives better. And I know for me, like, that's who I want to run with, right? Like, that's my tribe. That's who I roll with, is the people who are going, like, we want more across every aspect of our life. And I have no problem with financially desiring more, because there's no scarcity. There's no lack of money in the world, right? I hope everybody out there, I hope that landed for you. There's no lack of money. So you can desire as much money as you want. It doesn't make you a greedy, bad person. Just don't turn into a jerk, right? I don't believe money does bad things to people. I believe people who are a jerk with money, they were already a jerk, right? But so I believe you get to desire more across your whole life, more health, more wealth, more quality relationships, both intimately and in your family lives and friendship lives, right? Like, more across the board is one of those spaces. And for me, more impact is one of my huge driving core values.
So talk to us a little bit about, the professional beauty space. And, this is such an honorable business, such an honorable profession, because we truly are serving others, and we make a difference in people's lives.
Yeah.
But it can be exhausting, because, in the spirit of trying to serve others, a lot of times we may try to take, either emotionally or indirectly, we take on other people's problems or their emotions. And it may not be intentional. It just may be unintentional, because we care. Like, generally, like, we're an industry and a profession that cares about others. So how do we make sure that we allow ourselves to be happier while we're serving, so we don't get caught up in the clutter and the baggage of today life in general?
First of all, I want to acknowledge your industry is so dedicated to. I've had some of my most touching experiences with people behind the chair, right? I can think of one right now that happened 8 blocks from here a couple of years ago, and it can be a two-way street, right? It's like, sometimes the person behind the chair is touching the person's life, and sometimes the person in the chair is touching the person behind the chair's life. So first and foremost, a couple decisions. One is self-care, like prioritizing your self-care in your industry, where you are holding so much space for so many people, including whether it's the other employees in the salon or whether it's the other renters who are renting the booths inside your salon. You're holding so much space for so many people that right now it's like, the analogy is on the airplane. They say, you have to put your oxygen mask on first before you can put on the oxygen mask of people around you. Well, right now, I think a lot of people behind the chair, they're essentially holding their breath, helping everybody else, right? And so I would deeply recommend asking yourself, what does self-care look like for you that can allow you to rejuvenate and recharge, so that you can have your cup full and not be depleted all the time? 2, in order to do that, because you may be saying, well, Alok, but don't you see, like, I'm working 6 days a week, pulling super long hours. Well, there's a decision that I want to challenge your viewership to step into, which is that the vast majority of salon owners are breaking even or failing right now. And there's a small percentage that are highly profitable. And so right now, I want to challenge all of you to make a decision that you will be in that top 5% of salon owners who are highly profitable. That's a decision first. It's not a result. I hope everybody heard that. It is a decision first, and then the result begins to emerge. And you're probably, the people watching, you may need some help to be able to do that because you don't know what you don't know about how to go from breaking even every month where you're paycheck to paycheck and just getting by to being a top 5% salon owner who's actually highly profitable and therefore has the money and the time to start reducing their time behind the chair, right? So you become the CEO of the salon as opposed to the employee of the salon, right? So
Sure.
Those would be big things that I would say. Prioritize self-care and make the powerful decision that you'll be in the top 5% of profitable salon owners so that you can invest into your care.
Totally agree. So the prioritizing self-care, and I think it's just, that's really, we're hearing so much in general, like everything that we read outside the industry and inside the industry, folks going through COVID, the mental health challenges. So anybody that's experiencing that, again, we encourage anybody that's experiencing any mental health issues to go out and ask for help and get help
Absolutely.
because it's out there. Let's go to the second point, though. Talk to us a little bit more about that second point.
Sure. So most people don't realize, most entrepreneurs don't realize that success is actually a decision. And I know that I did not understand that myself a number of years ago. Like I just worked hard, right? I did like 70-hour weeks. Work ethic was never my problem, right? And I imagine that's true for most of the people in your industry. The salon owners work so hard, right? So hard work isn't the missing piece. But have you ever wondered why some salon owners absolutely crush it and like 95% don't, right? Like it's like this question that you need to begin to ask. And what I realized is there's a difference between studying entrepreneurship and studying wealth. And I really want to encourage everybody, begin to study money. I know that sounds crazy, but actually the energy and the science about how money flows is a science in and of itself that's separate from actually just studying entrepreneurship. So I want you to make a decision to succeed, not wait until you're successful and then go, oh my gosh, I'm successful. It starts by you. There's a great book called The Power of Decision by Charles Barker. And I'm going to highly recommend that all of you watching go read that book. It's like when you start making more powerful decisions than you've ever made before in your life, when you hear language like, you won't believe what happened to me, synchronicity, coincidence, luck, it's none of that. It is all when you start aligning with flow, and this may feel out there for some of you, but there is a very real space. I am living, breathing in that space right now.
Okay, so give us an example. I think you're totally. This is great insight. The Power of Decision by Charles
Barker. Yep.
Barker. I can tell you, I'm going to get that book. I have not read that book, but I will definitely go get that book. Okay, so give us an example of something that's maybe happened in your life that shows this, so that we can all get our minds around it.
Wow. When I started, I'll give you the biggest one. The biggest one was, and I stand on stage, Frank, and I talk to people about this. The mistake that cost me $1 million was not asking for help. When I singularly made the decision that I would start replicating the decisions that highly successful people before me had made, I didn't need to invent the wheel. And so I literally said to myself, well, Alok, you got nothing to lose. Like the way you've been doing it clearly, didn't work as well as you would have wanted. And it wasn't because you didn't work hard. So I said, well, I'm just going to start replicating the exact decisions that I see highly successful people make. I started reading, I started studying, and I literally started doing. So here's a big one. There's a book called The Science of Getting Rich, right? And I resisted that because I felt like only greedy rich people read books like that, right? Right? I mean, look at the decisions I used to make, Frank. They were ridiculous, right? And so it's a simple, tiny book like this thin. And one of the ideas in there was talking about poverty won't end poverty. Oof. And the book literally says, I need you to stop talking about poverty. Now, Frank, at the time, My entire life was about studying poverty, inequality, injustice, racial oppression, gender violence, like all the things that were not good in the world. And I prided myself. It was my core identity to be aware. And here the book says, talking about poverty will not end poverty. Abundance ends poverty. And I was like, oh my God, it was so challenging, so unbelievably challenging. But I had committed. I said, Alok, you made a decision that you would replicate the decisions of highly successful people before you. And I kid you not, that decision to stop talking about poverty, focus on abundance, now allows me to donate more than I ever have to the alleviation of poverty. I mean, like, okay, I hear you, universe. I'm on board, right? Like, I'm actually a solution for poverty more than I ever was when I simply was always talking about it.
Interesting.
I mean, this is real time. This is occurring right now. Like, I'm literally, I kid you not, this morning, I made a decision to up my giving again, right? Because
so I mean, you had a company, Fed by Threats, where you donated meals to people in poverty. So you're very familiar with it. Talk to us a little bit about your philanthropic work and your spirit to give back.
Yeah, so there's just a core philosophy that I have that is the more that you give, the more that you receive. And many traditions teach about this. And when we're in the hustle and grind mode of being an entrepreneur, it's really hard to feel that. But I've had that be, it's my concept called emotional capitalism. And that, you know, when we look beyond just the bottom line and we begin to look at how does your business impact other people's lives? And so for me, I've wanted giving and serving to be part of my business throughout my entire career. So at this phase of my business, my primary giving is twofold. One is trees. I believe that trees are the lungs of the earth. I believe that they clean all the carbon dioxide and convert it into oxygen. It's like they change waterways, they change soil quality, they create food and economies for people around the world. There's some great work. If you look at trees.org, Trees for the Future, the work they're doing is just absolutely amazing. So I fund trees every month. And then I also fund Feeding America. And it's an organization that helps feed the 45 million Americans who face food insecurity. And a single dollar can create 10 meals for people in need across the United States. So and that gives me chills right now, right? I grew up in West Philadelphia. I saw it. My dad's from India. I've seen a lot of what that looks like. And so I just believe, hey, look, let's help put food on the table for other people, and let's start, regenerating our collective home.
Sure. Good. So, we're working our way through COVID here. We've got, 92% of our membership community is entrepreneurs to some degree. And, we're working through it. You've given us some great advice so far on your experience. But what would be like a couple final thoughts, that you'd like for our community to take away from your perspective?
One is I would recommend that your audience, and this may seem totally out there, but hey, we're in a time period for out there thinking. So I would recommend looking at where you could add a service business on top of the service business. And what I mean by that is, I think a lot of salon owners who are already creating that emotional connection, I think there's I know there is a lot of money that they could build on top of the salon business by offering a coaching business on top of the salon business, which actually may be a bigger profit driver than the salon itself. So that, to anybody who's has a question about what that might look like, feel free to, knock on my door. We're happy to talk about it. But basically there's entire profit centers that they're kind of already doing. Like most of your salon owners are already coaching your clients, but they don't quite call it that, or they don't realize that. So you may look at, where is there a coaching business for the clients? But I would also say, particularly for the salon owners out there, and the entrepreneurs who are actually running a successful business and have done it for a long time, you could also begin to start moving into leveraging, being able to help other salon owners be able to run a successful business. And that is a very, very lucrative business that you could add on top of the salon business to start what I call, my upcoming book is called Own Your Value, the secret proven formula to monetize your knowledge, right? And so those would be two zones that I'd begin to think about that would help cash flow in the business.
And your book, Own Your Value, when will that be out?
I'm aiming for hopefully Q4 or Q1 of 2021.
Okay. All right. So I want you to write this down, because I'm going to write it down. We're going to want to have you back on when your new book is ready, and because we're going to want to hear about it and learn about it, because the insights that you gave us today have been absolutely fantastic. So Alok, thank you so much for your time and your insight, and we really, really appreciate you spending time with us today.
Frank, it's been an absolute pleasure. I'd be on the show anytime.
Great, great. And for everyone out there, just want, again, a big shout out to each and every one of you. Thank you for all of your hard work and everything that you do for the clients that you serve, because it truly is the spirit of our business. And we appreciate you, and we appreciate the love that you give and your service that you give to others, because it really makes our community a special place. So on behalf of everyone here at Cosmetologist Chicago, and our host, who's not here today, Ronit, we're thinking of you. We're wishing everyone a great day. And Alok, thank you again. And everyone, have a great day. Thank you.